it's a pleasure to having you on CLIQUE TV. It's a TV show for young and curious people, and you're young.
And curious.
And curious too.
Yeah, I'm more curious than young, but...
GQ magazine, a French magazine, indicates you as the man of the year. So what does it feel to be young and famous later?
Yeah, and of the year. I said yesterday, what year? But in any case, I think it's an honor.
You know, for us, you are a model because you become famous towards your work and later, and it's a model for young people or actors who want to become to work, and you have the conscience of that.
Yes, in a way, I do. It's a responsibility that I don't want. Unfortunately, it has a lot to do with career.
Yeah.
And that's something that I try to emphasize, especially when talking to young people who start out, speaking about being curious.
Yeah.
Very few are really curious about what it means to do it. They all aim for the result. But the result, in their eyes, is fame.
Yeah.
So I try to discourage young people to aim for fame because it's not a good enough motivation. You see, I'm coming from a different age. I started in the 70s. Yeah. The world was a different world. We were not bombarded with celebrity. That happened as a result of the digital explosion, and now the beast needs to be fed. So everybody is aiming for celebrity, whether to become a celebrity or to follow a celebrity. It's, in a way, cheap content.
Are you on Instagram, Twitter?
No.
No?
I don't do any social media, but not because well, yes, I am opposed to it.
Oh.
I am opposed to it because I was always a little weary, always a little careful, because why would that be the first thing in the history of mankind that is only used positively for the well-being of humans? There's always a flip side, and we're now in the process of experiencing the flip side.
Yeah.
The destruction of our civil discourse, at least, you know, if not much more, is accelerated by social media to a degree where you cannot say you want to participate.
This is just a body. It's not bad or good. That part's up to you.
I don't mean to be rude, but am I supposed to know you?
Actually, we just met.
The story of Alita is a cyborg who is in a sort of devastated world and who is searching her identity. What's the biggest threat in our society?
I think the threats come from all sides.
Yeah.
The problems pile up, and the way our society deals with these problems right now doesn't seem to try to solve them, but just to abolish the symptom. Like in a sick body, abolishing the symptom will make the patient feel better for the moment, but it will not cure the disease. I think the remedy is infinitely more painful, or will be more painful than we like to admit at this moment. I think we really need to rethink profoundly what keeps us together as a society. I'm not sure that just hitting the problem on the head will do something other than maybe in the end kill the patient. So it's going to be more difficult than we can probably foresee.
What's the threat in Alita's Battle Angel movie? What's the real threat?
Well, it's in a way, you see, that's why I really appreciate this movie, because it tells this its story on many different layers.
Yeah.
It's on a psychological, on a sociological, on a philosophical, if you want, on even possibly historical. There is a social and a political aspect to this story, absolutely.
The film begins with one scene, just you're eating orange without peel. And I noticed that in all your movie, eating scenes are very important, you know. It's always happening something important when you eat. The struggle scene in Inglorious Basterds, the same in Carnage with the apple pie.
That's interesting, I never thought about it.
In Big Eyes too, you seduce your future wife at a diner. So what's your link with food? What's your connection with food?
No, it's interesting. I never realized, but you have a point. I'm not sure whether it might not be simply because I pay attention to the sensory experience, so to say. I think that's what actors do, you know, they pay attention to one thing and let the audience participate in that attention. So maybe it's just, I don't know, I'm just trying to follow your thought. Maybe it is more that I direct the audience's attention to it, but I don't know, I have to think about that.
You like words.
Yeah, of course, yeah. Look,
what's your favorite word in French?
My favorite word in French?
Yeah.
Allumer.
Allumer? Why?
Because the onomatopoeia already allume.
Yeah.
You know, it's beautiful, and the image that I associate, I like that.
You know, for us, you're the most terrifying movie character. But at the same time, you're funny, you know, and it's very special. We cannot compare with any one actor.
That's very kind of you. Thank you.
So, how do you do to be scary and fun?
Maybe it's how I see the world. I have no clue. Maybe I should do a thorough analysis. I don't know.
I saw that you directed an opera last year. It was
Verdi, yeah.
I noticed that when you're in music and opera, it's always comedy. It's not bad or tragedy. So, do you make a difference between music and movie? It's the same art.
That's a really interesting question. Well, yeah, of course there's a difference. You know, I mean, we don't have to talk about the banalities.
Yeah.
But it really is my conviction that opera is very close to cinema, you know, except for the photography, but in terms of rhythm and pacing and accents and balance. There is an immense musical aspect to film. And I'm not talking about film music, I'm talking to tonality and mostly rhythm. So it's absolutely true, I think, that music and dance or opera are much closer related to the cinema than literature or fine art or the theater.
You studied classical music when you were young. Do you think it helped you to become a good actor?
Very much so, very much so. And that I wonder increasingly whether, you know, studying, learning, training the profession of acting is actually a circumvention more than, you know, doing acting classes. You know, I'm increasingly wondering whether it wouldn't be good for budding actors to go listen to classical music, you know, go to the museum, read fantastic novels, learn the classics, more than acting in itself. I don't know.
What do you listen now on music in your
right
phone?
now?
Yeah.
Beethoven.
Beethoven? Always?
String quartets, yeah.
Do you sing?
I rarely sing, but I do, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, it's wonderful, you know, especially children. I know children who sing all the time, and that's one of the most beautiful things that one can observe. Singing, I once saw a kid in a supermarket. She was about, I don't know, 5, sat in the trolley that her mother pushed through the aisle, and she sang like in an opera. She said, oh, we have to take the cereal, maybe today we take Cheerio Pops, and everything she sang. Mother, don't forget the cheese. It was fantastic.
Yeah, it's a way to see different life.
It elevates life, you know, and the experience.
If you have one of your movie to adapt in opera, which one?
Look, the Tarantino movies are really operas, and I was trying to actually, you know, get Tarantino together with a composer to have one of his scripts turned into an opera, but we didn't get very far.
I remember one episode. It was in 2013 in Festival de Cannes. For Django. You were on TV show, it was Canal Plus, with Molo Dacho, the person who found CLIQUE TV. Do you remember what's happened there?
Yeah, that crazy person you shot and said he had hand grenades in his backpack.
Le sexe, le vice et la baston. Il y a un mouvement de foule, il y a... Que se passe-t-il? Attention, nous sommes obligés d'arrêter. Qu'est-ce qui se passe? Il y a un mouvement de foule, il y a quelqu'un qui tire.
And the police jumped him, and the crowd was panicking, and I had a bodyguard with me, and this little Czech guy, Tomas, and he was extremely polite and, you know, soft-spoken and very discreet. And when that thing happened, all of a sudden, someone took me by the collar, and I was gone. Okay. And it was Thomas who had, you know, just pulled me off. And I was gone so fast that I was stunned.
You didn't realize what happened at this moment?
No, until, you know, we were then backstage waiting, and then someone explained it to me. And it was a crazy person.
We used to ask one last question on CLIQUE TV. What's your definition of a clique?
A clique?
Yeah, it's
a group of people who click together. You know, they click together. Interestingly, I never joined cliques.
No?
No, I'm always a little suspicious.
Why?
So yeah, because, you know, it's a closed, a hermetic construction.
Yeah.
And it's not always voluntarily hermetic. And that makes me a little suspicious. The like-mindedness of cliques irritates me.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you.
CLIQUE Sport, c'est toutes les semaines sur CLIQUE TV, c'est votre nouveau rendez-vous où chaque semaine, on vous propose de vous raconter ou de vous faire découvrir une légende du sport.
Moi, j'ai plutôt vu ça comme, je sais pas, clic-clac, je sais pas.
Et nous voilà en compagnie de notre invité toute la semaine, Kobalade. Bienvenue, c'est ta première télé? Eh bah bienvenue, c'est chez nous, chez CLIQUE. Clic-clac.
Moi, c'est la première interview que j'ai faite, c'est avec toi. On était avec mon groupe, je me rappelle encore de l'image, on était dans le studio, ils ont mis la lumière rouge, je sais pas pourquoi j'ai cette image-là, je me rappelle, ouais.
T'es le premier à y répondre sur notre chaîne. C'est quoi ta définition d'une clique?
C'est un groupe de potes avec qui on restera pas toute la vie.
Pourquoi pas toute la vie?
Parce que sinon c'est une famille.
Je pense qu'on se rencontrera un seul jour. À bientôt, James, et bon courage.
Oh, that's incredible. That's sweet, that's sweet.
You know, it's just like you, he never talks.
Bienvenue pour la première de Parle-moi. Dans Parle-moi, on va parler littérature, mais pas de livre, puisqu'il paraît qu'aujourd'hui on lit plus. Donc à défaut d'un livre, on va parler d'une page.
Chaque semaine, on va recevoir des gens qu'on trouve inspirants, qui vont venir partager leur expérience sur un sujet qui touche tout le monde. Et la première qui arrive, c'est la confiance en soi. Et ça se voit, on est au top.
Que suis-je? Je suis chinois. J'ai des cheveux un peu bizarres. Je suis un peu chelou, d'une façon générale, je suis chelou. Mais j'ai un talent de ouf. Je suis Bounaimin et j'arrive sur CLIQUE TV.
Salut, c'est Cut Killer et chaque semaine je vais vous présenter un album. Et cette semaine, Ready to Die de Notorious B.I.G. J'en fais bien.
Mouloud, c'est pour toi. Reportage spécial en direct de la Somalie avec Jérôme Jarre ici.
Là exactement, on est en direct de Cox's Bazar au Bangladesh, plus précisément dans le camp des Rohingyas, pour faire quelques jours en immersion à la rencontre de ces peuples.
Moi, j'avais un rêve et j'ai été jusqu'au bout de ce rêve et j'espère que vous aussi, vous aurez des rêves et vous irez jusqu'au bout.
Donc on touche ce bois là. Que t'as touché quand t'étais petit.
Ouais, j'ai touché.